What's up, Titans fans? Welcome to another episode of Titans Global Podcast, brought to you by Red Zone Builders. I hope you're up for a great show, because I am in the mood to give a great show. I am your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and if you don't know, you should know. Not a co-host, our other host, Link. What's up, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, what's going on? Good to be back for another pregame. Excited for it. This is going to be a Sunday kickoff, so getting a little more used to regular season coming up this week. But as always, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment. We definitely want to see you in the comments. Agree with us, disagree with us. We want your thoughts. So yeah, let's bust right into it.
All right, man. Oh, yes, we love this. First podcast, first time being here. What's up, Andrew?
There you go. Oh,
Hope
yeah.
you enjoy it, man. So yeah, if this is your first time, enjoy it, man. Pre-show, preseason. We'll get the boring stuff out of the way. It's 1:00 Central Time. Pretty much everybody knows that. We're going to be in all white jerseys, which is kind of cool. I like the whites, especially on a hot day. I'm sure they appreciate the whites. Channels: Nashville 2 ABC, Chattanooga 3 NBC, Jackson 16 Fox, Knoxville Channel 6 ABC, Memphis 3 CBS. All right, now all the boring stuff's out of the way. Let's get into the more fun stuff. Some of the things we're excited to see, or I'm excited to see anyway, is Will Levis. He kind of struggled a little bit in practice this week, on again, off again, kind of good play, bad play. So I'm interested to see if he can, tighten up the screws a little bit and look a little bit crisper, him and the first offense receivers and other. What do you got, Link? What's up, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. One promising thing to me, one good thing I like to see this week was Tyler Boyd coming back. Looked like they never missed a beat. That connection, I think that's going to be huge throughout this year. Just like I said, just never missed a step. So was able to come back in the slot position. Got some real good work in this week. Even Will Levis, he complimented on how he was able to get back. Still want to see that connection with Ridley kind of get a little bit better. I feel like that's where the most inconsistency lies right now. Just not able to get on the same page, it seems like, yet. And I really do think Ridley, I think he's going to be a big receiver this year for the Titans. Just got to kind of figure out how to make that mesh. So this is the last kind of trial run to get that figured out before the regular season. They're going to have to start hot against a pretty good looking Bears team. So yeah, just kind of take it as a dress rehearsal. I'd like to see the starters for at least 2 to 3 series, kind of work the rest of the kinks out. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole inconsistency thing. I think it's there. I think it just needs to be polished up a little bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's what we all want to see. We also all want to see how the starting O-line looks. We'll get another peek at that. We got, was it Latham, Sko, Cush, Radens, and MPF.
Yep, I think that's who they're rolling with. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm kind of excited to see how it all meshes together. I'm sure after a couple weeks of actually playing full time, they'll get it together. Hopefully, that's the hope anyway, isn't it? But with a coach like Callahan, or not Brian Callahan, the dad. Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you. I get them mixed up a lot, but anyway, with a coach like that, how can you not be a great offensive line? But what are your thoughts on the offensive line, the way they've stacked it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest question for me is still at that right guard position. I really thought Rupchich would kind of come in and take a bigger step up this last preseason game. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Pre-snap penalties, holding penalties. So it looks like Radens is the guy to start out in the gates, which, I mean, that's okay. He's a talented player. I think he can show good development. And again, this type of offense is not one where it's just going to be like we've seen in the past with Derrick Henry, where it's just we just got to get push on the line. I mean, they're going to be pulling guards, they're going to be scheming up different blocking schemes. So, yeah, it's going to be different. I do think it's going to take some time to work itself out. I don't see them having a super hot start out of the gate. I mean, let's remember Latham, he's still a rookie. He's going to have struggles. And even Skoronski, I mean, with him missing a little bit of last year, he's kind of just now what I feel like is coming into what he could potentially be. So, yeah, there's going to be struggles. There's going to be frustrations. But all in all, I think you're still better than you were last year. I'm tired of saying you can't get any worse because they've shown that you definitely can. But, yeah, it's something to look forward to. I think there's a lot of young talent on it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole it can't get worse, man. I said that I don't know how many times last offseason, and boy, did I regret saying all that, man.
Yep.
It's just like that thing in movies. You don't say everything's going to be fine as long as the lights go out.
That's right.
So anyway, another topic I want to kind of skate on is Malik Willis.
Mhm.
Seems to be a very polarized character in the fan base of Titans. And honestly, I think it very well could be his last time showing up in a Titans uniform. I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, honestly, because, the kid's got some talent. And honestly, on another team, he could be, a good backup player this year, potentially a starter a year or two down the road. I think of a Geno Smith, guy that didn't blossom first, maybe even his second team that he went through, but he started to get it later in his career, was a backup for a little while, really came on. Now he's doing great with Seattle, something like that. I'm not expecting a lot from the kid, but honestly, he's better than an emergency third quarterback, in my opinion.
Yep.
What do you think about Malik?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm not 100% sold on him not being on the roster, just for the simple fact that an emergency quarterback, that's a real position now in the NFL. So with the value the Titans have him for right now, I don't know, unless you're getting something back out of it, I don't know if it's worth letting him go on the practice squad, take the risk of him being picked up on waivers, because we've seen, I mean, quarterback play right now in the NFL is questionable at best at the backup position. So I do think it's a situation where he could very easily get scooped up come week 2 or 3 if he's not on this roster cut. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I kind of went into it last week. I said it. I still feel like the game's just moving a little bit too fast for him. He's definitely showed development. He's shown kind of his progression coming up as a rookie from Liberty, where he maybe wasn't developed as well as he should have been, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, he's still got a shot in this league. I don't know if it's going to be on the Titans long term. But for this year, you never know. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen than losing 2 quarterbacks. So it's a possibility that he makes this roster cut. I don't think the Titans are opposed to keeping 3 quarterbacks, but we'll see what happens, because if you do keep him, you're taking that spot away from somebody else, whether it be a wide receiver, whether it be a tight end, whether it be some of these other playmakers that we've seen really come up through this training camp. Oh, I don't think you got sound on. Muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. So anyway, just as I was just complimenting myself, I was talking about that's my cousin. I thought it was great, and watching the show, it's fantastic. What's up, man? What's up, Kat? Good to see you on the show. But yeah, man, I don't think they just let him walk. I wouldn't say that. But the likelihood that he suits up in a Titans uni again, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. I don't want, just like I said a minute ago, I don't want to say it can't get worse, but
right.
I would like to hope that we don't need an emergency third quarterback this year.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we don't need a backup, but if we do, I feel like we got a pretty good capable one in Mason Rudolph.
Yep.
I mean, his being a Bulldog doesn't hurt his stats any. So I got to drop my shameless Bulldog stuff in there when I can. Ryan Stonehouse, man, excited about this. Might actually get to see him for the first time in the preseason. It might just be 1 or 2 kicks, or something. But everybody needs to knock the rust off. So knock the rust off, get out there, kick. Man, he was kicking it beautiful in open practice. I just want to see him do it in a game again, and because it is just something to see. Watch a guy kick the ball that far and that high, have a hang time that he does, and get the distance he does. It's just a work of art.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any risk to playing him. I mean, let's be real. It's preseason. You're not going to have the opposing team absolutely gunning for the ball on punts. I mean, if they do, they're kind of just a piece of crap, in my opinion. There's just no point in it in the preseason. So, yeah, I mean, I think the upside to letting him kick and kind of like you said, shake some of that rust off is a lot higher than the risk of, potentially getting hurt again. So it's going to be good for him just to get back on the field in a real game situation, because when you're out for a while, the jitters, the nerves, I mean, they can come back. So it'll be good just to get him in a game situation, especially being on the road like this where it might be a little bit hostile. So yeah, I think the upside is far greater than the risk. So I wouldn't mind seeing him punt 4 or 5 times if it comes down to it and they need him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was, what's up, Paul? What's up, Scoob? I kind of glazed over you, but no. What's up, dude? Fan of the year, possible. Go vote. We're talking about. I was giggling at myself because we're talking about a punter here, but he is special.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, come on, man. It's a preseason game. It's the last preseason game. I'm just trying to get fired up about anything until we get to real football. We do get some real football this weekend, though. I mean, there's some college games going on. Not a lot of great matchups because it's the first week, but whatever.
Yeah, I think there's 4 college games. I'm actually pretty excited for it. College game day is back, kicking off from Germany. Is that right? I believe college game day is in Germany this first game, which is going to be kind of crazy.
Crap.
I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. But yeah, I mean, football action, any football action is good football action for me.
Yeah, man. I've even kind of cruised past the old practice field and seeing if the kids were out there, rubbernecking hard on my way home. I'm just fiending for some football, man. We need some football. They had their what do they call that? First, is it the jamboree? No, it ain't. Is it the jamboree?
Yeah, jamboree.
Whatever they call. Yeah, I was gonna say whatever they call the game. That's basically a gimme. They had that in our hometown Thursday night, and yeah, man, that place was hopping, dude. It's
Dublin. I'm
high
sorry.
schools.
My bad.
I just Dublin?
Out. Dublin. Yes, Dublin.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, hey, you weren't too far off. Dublin,
yeah, I was
Germany.
Close.
I mean, not very good at world geometry or geometry. Oh my God, geology. Digging myself a good hole here. It's all right. It's all right. So one of the big storylines I want to talk about is Callie said there's four or 5 spots. I think he said 4 or 5, 4 to 6, something like that. Spots open that are still, bubbles. Could be, could not be. The guys are not locked. So who do you think some of those 4 or 5 guys might be?
I would say, for me, that third running back position. I feel like there's still potential for that to be an open battle. I also feel like the wide receiver, honestly, probably the 5, 6, and 7 spots are open, in my opinion. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Those are the 2 that I really, really have my eye on. And then, hey, I'm with the talent they've got at tight end, wouldn't be shocked to see them keep 4 tight ends. So I feel like that could be another position that's open. And then, you've got a linebacker position. Jalen Harrell, I know we're going to get into him a little bit later, but he's shown that he's just one heck of a football player. So those are the 4 that I think would be most likely that are still open in my mind. Get your thoughts on it, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, man, I like that is a great debate. And I think we've talked about it before, but what would you rather do? Keep 4 tight ends or 7 wide receivers? And for me, it's 7 wide receivers. And I guess it's a little biased, but I love Kyrus Jackson. He showed his potential in the preseason. I mean, it is a fact that he did, tweak his legs. So I mean, if that's what it is, availability, I'm not going to be upset. But kid's got some serious talent, and I would like to see him make the roster. But I understand that holding 7 wide receiver because JJ is going to make the team. Yep. I'm gonna start calling him JJ because Jacon. That's why I don't call him by his name. Anyway, JJ is going to make the team, but will KJ?
Yeah, I feel like for me, the reason, and I think it kind of varies, but I feel like with this team and the personnel that they've got, I think you would have more talent at a 4th tight end spot than you would a 7th receiver spot. So, I mean, when you look at Vanette, when you look at Martin Robinson, I feel like the upside to those guys with what they offer in the blocking game and the possession game, you're getting more out of that than you would get in a 7th wide receiver like Kearis Jackson. So that's why I would say 4 tight ends this year. Other years I might have said 7 wide receivers. But, I mean, these are still practice squad guys at the wide receiver position. If something happens, you can always call them back up. I just think it would – I think if you let one of those tight ends go, you risk more losing them on waivers than you would losing your 7th wide receiver on waivers, if that makes sense. It's kind of just a numbers game for me at that point.
Yeah, Scoob asked a good question. I get this a lot online. Man, Mason Kinsey is probably the most loved guy that's never going to make the team on the first day. I hate to say it, but when it comes down to cut day, and I mean, you see it a little bit in the preseason, a couple of the drop passes, he's a smaller guy. He does great, and he's a great special teams player. Pretty good in the slot. But, again, I don't think Mason – I mean, there's so much talent at wide receiver right now. Yep. I just don't think that Mason Kinsey's going to make the team.
Yeah, his biggest downside on this team right now is just the depth that they already have. I mean, when I look at the receiver core, obviously you've got your 3 locks in Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd. Then I feel like NWI, his consistency hasn't changed through this training camp. He's kept that same consistency. He's been available. He's been on the field. He's made plays. So I feel like he is a lock. Obviously, I think Treylon Burks, he's still a lock just with the contract that he's on. Then you kind of get down to the nitty gritty. I do feel like Jaquan Jackson is a lock to make this team just with what he offers at the receiver position and on special teams. And then past that, you've got your guys on the outside looking in. That's your Kinsey. That's your Phillips, Kearis Jackson. So for me, I just don't see a lot of upside or possibility for one of those guys making the cut. I could be wrong. They all offer something a little bit different, but then they all have their downside to them. Kearis Jackson kind of struggles at the receiver position. Kyle Phillips just isn't available, but runs great routes. And then Mason Kinsey, he brings that kind of dog mentality, that energy to the team, but he's shown his inconsistencies with drops, kind of struggles a little bit on complicated routes. So for me, I feel like those guys just aren't polished enough compared to the other receivers on this team with the depth they've got.
Yeah, another hot debate is Julius Chestnut and Hassan Haskins. And I don't really know why I guess you break it down, Julius Chestnut's not as good of a pass pro as Hassan Haskins is, but I don't think that Hassan Haskins is half the natural runner that Julius Chestnut is. So
yeah, I could kind of see that. I think Chestnut offers you a little bit more of a threat, but I feel like what they're looking for in that third running back position is going to be more of the pass blocking, more of the workhorse, more of the short yardage. Because, I mean, let's be honest, whoever gets that third running back position, hopefully we're not going to see much of them. I mean, that's the reality of it because, they're going to be switching in Pollard and Tajay Spears so much that third running back, if they hit the field, I feel like something has gone wrong. So I think either one is a good choice, is a good fit. Don't mind either one of those guys making the roster. I think we're going to see a lot of reps from both of them in this last preseason game. And I mean, keeping 4 running backs is not outside of the realm of possibilities. I mean, crazier things have happened. So if they both show out and they both, show that they can offer something to the team, don't be shocked if you see 4 running backs on that list.
I'll say this. I like Julius Chestnut as a third running back as an option of running the football better.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about a third down running position that you're normally going to see a player as a special teams player, man, I'm sorry. I got to give it to Son Haskins because he's an ace on special teams. I mean, he's been great on special teams, so you kind of have to give it to him.
Yep.
As far as that goes on defense, I don't know. I really like what is his name? I say I really like him, and then I can't remember his name. Carter? Is that it? Shaheem Carter?
Yeah.
I really like Shaheem Carter. I don't know why. I think he's got a good game. I think it's finally time for Trey Avery to go away. People keep saying Trey Avery always made such great strides. Oh, look at how good he's doing with Jannard Wilson. I don't know what preseason game y'all are watching. I mean, I see he didn't do terrible. He got burned like 3 times, I guess, but he didn't do terrible.
Yeah, he's another guy who he's not the most talented. He does offer some availability. I mean, we haven't seen that much injury issues out of him. He's able to get on the field, but when it comes to a talent perspective, it's just not there for me. I think there's younger guys on this roster that have more upside than he does. For me, I don't see him on the cut. I could be wrong, but again, I mean, another practice squad guy that might make an impact later if there's an injury, but it's not somebody I want to see at a starting position on Sundays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I definitely don't want to see him as a starter, but
no.
I don't know. I feel like he's another one of those really good special teams players.
True.
I think that's why Trey Avery's lasted around as long as he has, because he does really good on special teams, believe it or not. I don't know, man. We talked about Rashad Weaver, or did we? No, we didn't.
Mm-mm. No, and that's what I want to get into because that's an interesting little case study. A guy for me that has been kind of inconsistent through training camp. This was kind of going to be what was supposed to be his year to shine. I feel like, especially with the looming Arden Key suspension that apparently isn't a suspension anymore, and I've never been more confused by a ruling from the NFL in my life. Apparently, he won an appeal even though there was never an actual case. So exactly. I don't know how that worked, but whatever. This was supposed to be Rashad Weaver. I kind of expected him to step up through training camp. While there was talk of that possible suspension, and you didn't see that. For me, it was kind of lackluster, and we went from talking about him as a possible starter day one to discussing whether or not he's on this roster come cut time. So for me, it's been a very, very disappointing letdown at training camp. Maybe with what was expected, maybe the biggest disappointment of training camp this year.
Yeah. He has to be my personal biggest disappointment because not only, I mean, last week he was going against 2s and 3s. Near the end of the game, he was even in a play or two against people that probably aren't going to make any NFL roster. And he still couldn't get in the backfield. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is, because everybody, I mean, he seems to have the right attitude and he seems to be a gym rat. So I don't really know if he just can't connect the dots or what. I don't know, but God help him.
I mean, it also doesn't help that you got an up-and-comer behind you who has looked the exact opposite and has looked absolutely incredible this training camp. And for me, that's Jalen Hare. I mean, maybe I would say the gem of this training camp, just on the flip side of that, would be Harrell for me. I think he's secured himself a roster spot. I think that he may work himself into a number 2, like an automatic backup role. I mean, I think this may be an X factor come middle of the season when there's some people that are banged up, because I do expect some snaps from him, in regular season games.
And an absolute steal at the position he was drafted at. I was we'll get into that a little bit later. Y'all hang around though. We got a little 40-second ad or whatever for our sponsors, Red Zone Builders, but we'll be right back. What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here. Are you in need of professional excavation services? Look no further. Red Zone Builders has the expertise, experience, and equipment to handle all or any excavation project, big or small. Whether you need land clearing, site preparation, trenching, foundation excavation, or any other excavation services, they have you covered. Their team of skilled professionals work diligently to ensure your project is completed safely, efficiently, and to your satisfaction. Trust the experts at Red Zone Builders to get the job done right. What's up? We're back. Told you it was going to be quick. So, I don't know if you guys noticed the shirt. I did want to talk about this just a little bit. Shameless plug. Don't care. It's not for me. So shameless plug away. Mr. Titan event, 4th annual, 4 years in a row. It's the 4th time he's done it. It's going to be at the Rudder in Hendersonville. It's kind of like a giant meet and greet of a couple different podcasts. I think Donnie Nicky's going to be there. He's giving some stuff away, some signed old memorabilia. I think one of them's a Steve McNair autographed piece of memorabilia that he's giving away in lieu of the Netflix documentary that just dropped. So if you haven't heard about this or known about this, it's probably because you're not on Twitter, because it's everywhere on Twitter right now. But if not, man, you message me or DM me or whatever. I'll give you all the info you want, because it's a great thing. All this stuff, all the proceeds go to charity, man. It's all for charity. So, and it's a fellow Titans podcaster. That is one thing about, I don't know how it is to podcast for other teams, because, I don't like anybody else. I'm a Titans fan. But as far as I know, most of the Titans podcasts that I've been on or around or talked with are just super awesome people, very welcoming, very cool, wanting to give you advice. I mean, honestly, I'm the same way of other podcasts. I mean, we it's really honestly like a family of people that have just gathered to try to talk about the Titans, because we just love football or the Titans. And I just always try to help people out and spread the good word. So there you go. If you didn't know, now you do. Check that out at the Rudder in Hendersonville on the 14th from 1 to 6 p.m. You can get these shirts online, enters you right into the raffle. Anyway, enough of the shameless plug. We had a great question this week, and it came to us from a good source. Been on the show a couple times, Mike Patton from Touring the AFC South. If you don't follow him, you should check him out. Great information on the 3 teams that we love to hate the most. Before I get into that, speaking of teams we love to hate, so I don't know how many of y'all are on Twitter, but if you're not, you might not know about this yet, but Anthony Richardson and the Colts have been taking some major heat because the Bengals players were upset that they didn't give them more of a challenge in the joint practices, and they were like totally dogging him in the game. And I mean, you could see it after the first drive, he did nothing. And
yeah, Indy's got some stuff to figure out. They've had an interesting training camp, to say the least. They had fans making songs about him that were just kind of pitiful. Kind of makes you feel sorry for him. Then the whole Anthony Richardson stuff, and I don't know where the hype with Anthony Richardson comes from. Yeah, he's a dual threat. I guess still a lot to be desired in the passing game, and
it's not dual if you can't throw.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the hype is just it's the Colts. I feel like if you put Anthony Richardson on the Titans, he's not getting this much attention. I don't know. they're projected to actually be in a contest for the AFC South. I just don't see it. I don't even think he's going to stay healthy the whole season, much less have a breakout sophomore year. So I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. I've been wrong before, but he's not on my fantasy list. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'll say this, man. As much crap as I give Trevor Lawrence for being a mid player, because he is, I've never seen a story like this about him. And the fact that in your second year, you're already getting looked at as the low man on the totem pole beneath Trevor Lawrence is just, man, I don't know how my cousins sleep at night, bro. I got family in Indianapolis, if anybody didn't know that.
Yeah, and let's be real. I mean, this is a division where, I mean, I feel like even within the next 3 to 4 years, this could very easily be the toughest division in the NFL. So, if you're the Colts, we talk about this being a figure it out year for Levis, whether or not he's going to be the franchise quarterback for the Titans for years to come. Colts are in maybe a worse position than that. I mean, they're looking right now like, hey, this guy might not even be able to play in 2 years. So for me, it's very interesting with as much young talent between Trevor Lawrence, who's obviously a little bit older, but then you've got C.J. Stroud, you've got Will Levis, and now Anthony Richardson. So a lot of ceiling, but I don't know if I'm the Colts. If I'm a Colts fan, I'm not liking the looks of this early at all.
Yeah, man. I even put out a post on Facebook. If you follow me on that, I almost feel bad for him. Almost.
Nah.
Because, I mean, I know what it's like. I know what y'all are going through, man. You had a good quarterback at one point, and now you're stuck with a guy like Jake Locker, who's an amazing athlete and can throw on a dime when nobody's around him. But you put him in a football situation, and he can't throw for crap, and he gets injured a lot. And I feel bad for you a little bit that you got to go through that. But, hey, whatever. You got Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and y'all just...
He kind of belongs to Denver now, let's be honest.
Oh, that's rough, man. Although it is funny because one of my father-in-laws is a huge Peyton Manning fan, and he does not have a Colts jersey, but he does have a Denver jersey. So there you go.
No, I'm the same way. Grew up watching Peyton Manning. That was my favorite quarterback. Even while he was on the Colts, I guess I still kind of rooted for him a little bit. Just him, not the Colts as a team, just with his history at Tennessee. But yeah, I don't. When I hear Peyton Manning, I think Denver. I still don't give the Colts credit for that.
Look, I'll be honest with you, man. While Peyton Manning was with the Colts, I hated Peyton Manning. I hated him. Because, I mean, my family still lived in Indianapolis, It's not like they changed their trajectory. So for those years, it was miserable, man, because not only did we suck, but the Colts were so good. I mean, they had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne and Edgerrin James. And, I mean, they were just smoking us, dude. Dwight Freeney could just hit anybody on the edge. He was so fast. So, yeah, it sucked. It absolutely sucked. I hated Peyton Manning. And then when he moved to Denver, I still wasn't a fan of him. And that's because he turned down my favorite team on a lifetime contract, the biggest contract ever offered to any football player ever. And he turned it down to go to Denver. I don't blame you. All right. In the state that the Titans were in at the time, I don't blame you as a professional. I'm just saying, man.
What could have been?
I know, right? But anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about here. Great question from Mike Patton, touring the AFC South. What do you expect to get out of Weaver and Harrell this season? This season now.
This season, I still think, honestly, by the end of the year, I think Harrell will have more snap count, a higher snap count than Rashad
Oh, yeah.
Weaver. I mean, that's a given. And I think at that point we're not even talking about Weaver as a player on this team. I mean, obviously he's going to be here at the end of the season, but I think at that point it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to figure out something else to do with him. There's too much upside to Harrell at this point. Weaver, I think we've kind of seen what we're going to get out of him. I haven't seen a lot of development and progression through this training camp. So, yeah, I mean, I think he will get some snaps. He'll have the opportunity. But ultimately, I think Harrell's going to make the most of his snaps and kind of take that position by the reins.
Let me go ahead and start off with saying I 100% agree with everything you said. I don't think anything you said is false. Now, you asked what I expected of them. I don't know, 5 sacks each. If each of those guys got me 5 sacks, I would be pretty happy with both of them. Now, I feel like, just like you said, Harrell's going to get more playing time as the season goes on. I feel like he probably maybe gets more than 5 sacks. I do expect him to be in the backfield a lot because he was not only getting sacks, but he was tackling the running back in the backfield, which is what you want to see, tackles for loss. I love TFLs. But the point is we're talking about a guy who's a rookie contract, 7th round draft pick. We're talking about another guy who was paid how many millions of dollars? I feel like he got at least $3 million. I think it was a $3 million deal. I don't know. I can't remember. Dang it. I need to look that up. But my point is, you're talking about one guy that makes 12 times what the other guy makes, and I'm expecting the same amount of production. And honestly, I don't even know if Weaver's going to get the 5 sacks. He didn't last season. And I mean, I don't know. I've been really disappointed in him in the preseason. Like I said, last game, I really expected to see him bust off like 2, maybe even 3 sacks, couple tackles in the backfield, because you're going up against guys that haven't played at your level yet. You know what I mean? Like, you've got 2 years of NFL experience on him and 1 year as a rotational starter, man. You should be looking to start.
Yep.
But we're looking at you like we might actually cut your ass, which is an insane turnaround. But I mean, the production shows, man. You're just not making it. And I like you said, I think Harrell has done a great job, and I want to see him with the ones. I would love to see a lineup of Sweat, Simmons, Landry, and Harrell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, on the flip side of that, with Weaver, you kind of know what you're going to get. He's good at what he's good at, but he's kind of that one positional player. Whereas Harrell, for me, I mean, even in college, we saw him he's stand up outside linebacker, but he played on both sides of the line. Even played slot corner a few times. He's kind of exceptional for his position as a pass defender. So for me, you can kind of do more with him than you can do with Weaver, and that in itself automatically makes me think that he's going to be able to do more, that he's going to have better stats, he's going to have more snap counts. I just think the upside to him is a lot more than you've got with Weaver right now, 100%.
Okay, so I had to look it up to see what the contract was. We signed a 4-year, $4 million contract with about $660,000 guaranteed. Looks like 164 of dead cap. So realistically, we could cut him and lose $750,000 along with his. Nope, that would be it. $750,000. But I don't know. $1 million a year still, man. I don't know, dude. What are you doing? I just expected so much more from you, Weave, man. I really was psyched. Oh, man. Letting me down, Weave.
Yeah, but we've been here before, and this is still, this is still the old guard, in my opinion. These are the guys that were under Vrabel that there just seems to be so many of these guys that just had kind of a lull in their development, I guess is the best way to put it. Just another person who we expected to make an impact to, 2 to 3 years down the road. This guy's going to be an impact player. And then it just fizzles out. These are guys like Fulton. These are guys like Weaver, and the hits have hit. I mean, Jeff Simmons was, he may go down as one of the greatest Titans defensive linemen of all time. But then these other guys that just fizzled out, that's the problem for me. And there's so many of them. I mean, we spent a first-round pick on Isaiah Wilson. I mean, give me a break. So for me, it's just I don't know how much longer there's going to be a place for those guys on this roster when you've got these younger dudes that are part of the Carthon era, that are going to be part of the Callahan era, who are already showing leaps and bounds in their development above these guys that have been here 2 to 3 years. So I feel like the time's going to come pretty soon where we're going to start seeing more and more turnover.
Well, yeah, I mean, our honestly, I think our roster turnover this year was a ridiculously high number. It was like 40-something% or something like that. But yeah, I think you're starting to see the youth movement, and you're finally starting to see some pairings. That was one of the things I was really excited about. Like when they picked up Sweat, I thought to myself, all right, man, if this guy can move people like he did in college, and Simmons is right next to him, that is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it works out. But it is nice to see people paired up together, and not just doing what we normally do on free agency, which is just, go after maybe one marquee player, if that. We might get one decent guy, and then we're all excited because we got one guy. No, this year we went out, we got quite a few guys, all starters, which is just, I don't know. Rand Carthon has really impressed me. I don't want to give him any crowns yet or anything like that, but the guy has done nothing but great since he's got here. Missed a couple times, but who doesn't miss every now and then? As long as you're hitting more than you're missing, I'm happy. Well,
and for me, you turned this year from a complete rebuild to a restructure. And that's what we've seen. We've seen a restructure of the offense, of the defense. So, I mean, they're keeping – again, I mean, obviously we're chasing Super Bowls, but they're going to struggle to get there this year, but they're keeping their playoff window open. Whereas you see other teams, they basically admit defeat for the next 2 to 3 years. Whereas the Titans, and the way that they've structured this team, they're at least keeping the window open. You've got a young quarterback. You're going to figure out this year whether he's going to be the guy or not. I mean, let's just be honest. That's kind of what this year is. It's a figure it out year. But you got a lot of young talent at a lot of important positions. And if they can continue the development that we've seen through this offseason, if they can continue that to next year, keep hitting on these draft picks, keep making the splashes in free agency, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that within the next 2 to 3 years, this is going to be a Super Bowl competitive team.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at all. I don't know about this year, I just don't know. I mean, hey, crazier things have happened, but I just don't think that this is the year. But yeah, year or two off. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sure. I could see that. That's not that far off at all, especially. And I think part of it is, oh God, what, you ever been with a chick with a really annoying laugh?
I can relate to that.
She's got one of those, like, I don't know if you ever watched this show, but The Nanny, Fran Fine. If a chick has a really annoying laugh and you date her for a decent period of time, the next chick you date, you're going to appreciate so much more because she just doesn't have that annoying laugh. Same thing with our GMs.
Yep.
John Robinson, God help that man. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if his life was depending on it with anything. He couldn't do it in free agency. He couldn't do it in the draft. Well, I mean, I guess he hit a couple, but everybody hits one every now and then. But I mean, come on, man. And then to trade off the only couple that you get or let them go to free agency, which really doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Just after that terrible job, yeah, the guy that comes in, you're going to look at as the savior of the franchise because he actually did some really good moves, not even average, above average, I would say, on GM statuses. He did an above average job. Like you said, he turned our rebuild into a restructure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like we're a new Titans team, and we're going to be exciting. Honestly, I think the whole AFC South is going to be pretty exciting.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And just to build on that, J-Rob and Vrabel, they were really good at doing just enough to keep their job until they weren't. And for me, just seeing, like we talked about earlier, kind of the infusion of youth, we've seen that with this coaching staff as well as the players. And it's nice to see some of the stuff. It feels like a football team. I mean, we actually get injury updates. We actually get – we get open practices. We get a little bit of what's the word I'm
We
looking
get
for?
jelly roll, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's stuff to get you excited about the team. Whereas Vrabel was just very cut and dry, and you never knew what was going on. You never knew, and I feel like a lot of that was why he started to lose the locker room. He tried to play to everybody, and that just didn't work. People eventually started seeing through that. And I think Callahan, I think he's just a real dude. He's going to tell it like it is. I do think he has the support of this locker room. And, the more I got to thinking about it, not playing the starters last week, I kind of didn't like that. I thought they needed the reps. But then on the other hand, I got to thinking maybe that's just another way of him saying, look, we had a tough week. Or we had tough practices against the Seahawks. He may have won the locker room over a little bit by those guys saying, hey, we're tired. He's giving us the game off. So I think it's just little things like that where I feel like he has control of this. And I've got a lot of faith in him. I like the coaching staff he's put together, and it's just it's a breath of fresh air compared to what we've been used to the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, man. And I don't know. I just don't hear people credit her enough, but the biggest influencer of Titans change in the way that they operate on a day-to-day basis goes out to Amy Adams Strunk, our owner. She came out, she made a quote. I love the quote. It's not my daddy's NFL anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She's absolutely right, and she's running it the way that new teams are run with analytics, young GM, young head coach. Man, I'm getting chills over here, but I really do. I mean, I don't know. When you've been watching a team this long and you've been seeing the same thing over and over, even when they get different coaches and different people, it's the same thing. You get told you're going to get some crazy offensive scheme, and then you end up with Wizenhunt.
Exotic smash mouth. That was my favorite.
Oh my God. I actually use that term a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, the idea sounds absolutely incredible, but exotic smash mouth just turned into 3 and out. I mean, that's basically what we got. So
it turned into the Marcus Mariota don't mess up show, man.
Pretty much.
By the way, did you hear Matt LaFleur outing him? I mean, he didn't out him, but it was really funny. But he was talking about how the 99-yard touchdown from Derrick Henry was a mess up.
Oh, I didn't hear the whole thing. No, I know what you're talking about. I saw a little clip of it, but I didn't hear the whole thing.
Yeah, so basically he said that Marcus Mariota, the offensive coordinator, which was Matt LaFleur, called down into the headset, check down, which means he was supposed to check down to his other play, which was a quarterback sneak. And it was just to get him 3 or 4 yards out of the, they were on the 1 yard line. But he didn't check the play down. He just ran the play as it was. And it just so happened that it worked out to be a 99-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry. But Matt LaFleur, they were talking about, and Matt LaFleur was like, dude, you can't give me credit for that because that wasn't my idea. I wasn't trying to do that. Actually, Marcus Mariota screwed up. And it was
That's
like, oh my God.
that's the most Mariota thing I've ever heard of, though. Being great even when he wasn't supposed to be, when he wasn't trying to be. I mean, throwing passes to yourself in a playoff game,
That
not
was sick.
checking out of a play that gave you a 99-yard run for Derrick Henry. I mean, that's the most Marcus Mariota thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and then the speech after the game. Yeah, we had a really good game. Derek ran the ball really well. They blocked
Yeah,
good too.
yeah.
Oh man, it used to drive me nuts, dude. It'd be like, man, get happy, dude, something, or get pissed off. I don't know,
Anything.
get
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Good God, it used to drive me nuts. But yeah, man, really excited in the way we're going. Really excited about everything. You got any hot takes for the game? I know it's the third preseason game, but I mean,
Yeah, no, I don't know if I would consider anything a hot take at this point. I do think first team offense comes out. I do expect a few deep balls this week. That's something I want to see. Kind of want to see Levis take a shot, maybe the first 2 or 3 plays, just to see what you got in that arm. But yeah, I think it's another good week for the Titans. I do expect to win. I think that they've shown that they have maybe some of the best depth in the NFL. I'm not saying they have the best team in the NFL, but when it comes to depth and the quality of players they have at certain positions, I feel like they have some of the best depth. And I feel like that's why they've looked so good in these preseason games, is because even your second and third team offenses can still go get some work done. So exciting to see. Ready to get to regular season. So this is the last little dress rehearsal they got. And yeah, hope it's a good outing for them.
yeah, like you said, man, not really a hot take, but first game that they played, I guess Levis come out, 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. They weren't pretty, they were mostly special teams and a couple dick and dunks, but I still want to see Levis come out, at least 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. That's what I want to see. I would love to see the defense get a turnover as well. Not really a hot take, just what I want to see. I'd love to see a good return too. I'm loving these kickoff returns. Although, real quick, because I don't want to go off on kickoff return stuff, but man, wouldn't it not be better if the NFL said, okay, if it rolls into the end zone, we're going to bring it out to the 35? Because that would just keep people from trying to kick it into the end zone like they already are.
Yeah, I think they're still tweaking. They've even announced there's probably going to be some changes before the regular season, so it's going to be a work in progress. I don't know that we really have a real official this is the kickoff rule until next year. I think that's when it's really kind of set in stone. This year's still a trial run for this thing. I do think it's going to be great. It's a whole extra offensive play. But yeah, still a little bit of kinks to work out. But come this time next year, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like for the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you, you remember. But there was an actual roster spot, maybe even 2 or 3, that were just for people who did returns. Pac-Man Jones would not have been the NFL star he was had he not been a good return man. Yep. Devin Hester probably would have never played a down in the NFL had he not been the amazing return guy he is. And that's back when returns mattered. And that's why I want returns back in this game, because it brings us stars that we would never know about if they weren't returning a football. If they're just playing receiver, they're not that great, or cornerback, or whatever their position is, they're not that great. But they are amazing and electric when they got the ball in their hands and they're running down the field in open territory.
Yep.
Love it. Any final comments?
No, I don't think so. Ready to get back to football. College tomorrow, NFL coming up, Titans coming up on Sunday. So excited for it. Stay with us. As we get close to the regular season, obviously we're going to have announcements, do our pregame, postgame shows. So just stay with us, stay updated, and can't wait to bring content to you guys.
Yeah, man. And as always, if you follow us, we would prefer you follow us on Twitter, which we're actually blowing up there. We've had a huge jump in subscriptions over the last month, and I would love to continue that trend. So join us, subscribe, have the party, whatever. Like our videos, hit the bell so you get notified and get all this amazing content that we're laying out for you here. If you're not on YouTube, that's cool, man. You can still follow us on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or Instagram or whatever your social media preference is. Follow me personally, Maximus Titan Fan on Facebook and Twitter. Follow Link on Facebook and Twitter at Link Rogers. Until next time, I think we're good. You good, Link?
We're good.
All right, guys. Till next time, tighten up. Peace out.